Thank you for joining us today. My name is Aubrey George. I'm the Director of Grants and Sponsored Programs at JSTD. Thank you for joining us today for this JSTD LifeHomeTech webinar. For those of you who are unfamiliar with JSTD, we are a multifaceted provider of services for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities based in Livingston, New Jersey. We offer residential services. We have homes located in Morris and Essex counties. We have an innovative day habilitation program called the Way Center. We also offer therapeutic services and are home to Heidi Gallery, which is a public art venue committed to inclusive and accessible programming. We launched JSTD LifeHomeTech in the summer of 2023 with funds from a federal grant. Susan Nasberg Abrams is here today. She's going to provide more information about LifeHomeTech. But before we move on to Susan, I have a couple of reminders. Please stay muted throughout the presentation. We'll have a brief Q&A at the end. This session is being recorded. Feel free to keep your camera off if you're more comfortable. We will be adding directions for closed captioning into the chat very soon. They were also included in the reminder email that was sent to you. Thank you all for being here today. And now I'm going to pass this on to Susan.
Hi, thanks, Aubrey. As Aubrey mentioned, I'm Susan Nasberg Abrams. I'm the project coordinator of LifeHomeTech, which means that I run the day-to-day implementation of this program. So for those of you who weren't at one of our previous webinars, I'd like to introduce you to what is LifeHomeTech. LifeHomeTech is an initiative at JSTD to use enabling technology for adults with autism, intellectual and developmental disabilities, and aging in place. Our goal is to help create a greater level of independence and an improved quality of life. We're committed to always using a person-centered approach, which means that we look at the specific needs of every individual before we implement or recommend any piece of technology. Currently, we are working to integrate appropriate enabling technology into our JSTD residential homes. We're also working to educate others in the broader community about how enabling technology can benefit those with IDD. That's why we developed this webinar series. We have 2 more sessions that we encourage you to sign up for. On April 4th, the topic will be Building Independence Through Task Prompting and Social Supports with the iPad, tablet device, and apps. And on May 30th, we will be discussing augmentative and alternative communication, so AAC, including what it is, who is a candidate for AAC, and how to access services through your DDD budget. This will be led by Barbara Seltzer, who is both a speech-language pathologist and an assistive technology professional. Before we get started with today's session, I just want to introduce you to the rest of our team. You already met Aubrey. Jessica Goldstein is the Associate Manager of Programs, Outreach, and Communications. Along with Aubrey, she helped to secure this grant. So thanks to you both. You'll hear from her a little more later. Randy Lesser is the Director of Quality Assurance for Technology. She oversees compliance standards and leverages tech systems to ensure high-quality service. She's working the back end of our Zoom today. Tatiana Copeland is the project assistant for LifeHomeTech. She helps out with the day-to-day process of making this grant happen. Tatiana will be watching the chat, so if you have any questions, we encourage you to ask them in the chat, and Tatiana will make sure they are answered. We're excited to have Emily Anderson back to lead today's webinar. Emily is an enabling technology specialist as well as a certified aging in place specialist. She currently serves as the enabling technology manager at SimplyHome. I'm going to pass it over to Emily so she can explain how the Amazon Echo Show can enhance daily independent living routines. Emily?
Thanks so much, Susan, and the entire JSTD team. It's a pleasure to be back with you today. And I'm even more excited to chat about a device that I think has almost endless possibilities. It's something I'm personally quite passionate about, and I think you guys will probably feel the same way as we kind of work through today's conversation. So to start us off, I wanted to just kind of dive in a little bit to kind of what is an Echo speaker and really kind of how does it work a little bit. Just quickly to start us off, an Echo speaker is kind of split into several categories. So there are smart speakers, smart displays. One has a screen, one does not. You've probably seen different types of these around maybe in commercials or advertisements. Really what we want to focus on today is the Amazon Echo Show, and specifically the Echo Show 10. And I'll touch on that more here in a moment, so hang tight. So an Echo device or an Echo smart speaker, it utilizes Alexa. Alexa is a voice-controlled, intelligent personal assistant. Some folks refer to her as, with she, her pronouns, because she kind of really takes on almost a life in your family. She becomes kind of a member of the household. I'll note that the Echo devices, all of them do require Wi-Fi in order to function. Really one of the only major things required in order for Alexa to assist you. By enabling skills, an Alexa-enabled speaker can perform a variety of tasks or interactions with other devices. And I'll highlight that more here shortly. But really a great way to think about skills is to consider them kind of like you would apps for your phone or tablet or maybe your computer. I want to highlight just briefly kind of the two different categories we touched on. So we said smart speakers. These are going to be non-screened Alexa-enabled smart speakers. I put in a couple of images here just to kind of explain the evolution that the Echo speakers have taken over the years. We're currently in the 4th and 5th generations of the Echo Dot. And Amazon has also released a kids version of the Echo Dot as well, with some different functionalities, some different parental controls. There are also a couple other Echo devices out there, but really these are going to be the ones you see the most frequently and offer you the most benefits. But the real kind of highlight, the belle of the ball today, the Echo Show. So it's come a long way, and there are lots of different types of Echo Shows out there. My absolute favorite, the Echo Show 10. Why is it called 10? It has a 10-inch screen on it. There are other models of the Echo Show, and they have a number behind them, like 5 or 8 or 15. This all relates again to that screen size. So a 5-inch screen, an 8-inch screen, a 15-inch screen. The reason I like the Echo Show 10 the most is for a few kind of key features here that are highlighted on the screen. So the Echo Show 10 does offer a high definition camera, and it does have a physical shutter on top of that camera. So privacy is important, right? You're inviting this device into your home. Maybe you don't want to be on camera. Maybe a video call is not what you're feeling. You can actually push that physical shutter on top of that camera, and there's no way to override that. So you maintain control over your own privacy. We've talked a little bit about that calling. So there's audio calling and there's video calling, and the Echo Show is capable of doing both. Amazon has titled their audio calling feature the drop-in feature, but I really think the better way to consider it is really just like a phone call, but using the Echo device to kind of facilitate that call. You can also use the Echo Show for some kind of entertainment activities as well. You can watch TV and movies via the Fire TV interface, which is you might also see on different Fire TV devices like a Fire TV stick or cube, and we'll highlight that briefly here in a second. The Echo Show also can act as a digital photo frame, which is a lot like a screensaver for the device. You can actually have photos of your loved ones. Maybe there's a new grandbaby that you have a lot of pictures of and you want to rotate through some photos. You can keep your loved ones near with this digital photo frame screensaver. And we'll highlight some more of the features of the Echo Show, but another one that I think is really important when it comes to independence and building independent skills is its ability to help out in the kitchen. So you can utilize the Echo Show to kind of read recipes, research ingredients, and also to set timers in the kitchen as well. So that way you make sure dinner is finished on time and that nothing kind of gets burnt or anything like that. So just briefly here, the Echo Show is capable of some smart home control via some extra kind of accessories or peripherals. So an Amazon Smart Plug could provide verbal control, on-off control only of a plug-in device. So this could be a lamp or something like a fan or something to that effect. Another kind of accessory would be a Fire TV cube. So the Fire TV cube can actually plug into the back of a TV, offer some verbal control over the TV itself. It can also act as an Echo speaker. It does everything that the Echo Dot does. And then there's also some other third-party devices that work beautifully with the Echo device, like the Philips Hue smart lighting lineup of products, as well as the Samsung SmartThings line of products. And there are many, many others. There would not be possibly enough room to list them all here today, but there are many out there. So what I really want to kind of highlight today is what can Alexa do for you? And I really kind of think that a lot of these things you've probably seen in commercials and stuff like that, but I want to kind of explore them a little bit more together. So the Alexa can support you with lots of kind of, independent building activities. Maybe you have some books that you want read aloud. It can read books, it can play music. You can create lists and utilize calendars and scheduling reminders. So lists could be shopping lists for this week's groceries, or it could be a list of to-dos for the week before the weekend ends. There's a lot of different things you could use those for, and calendars could be great to kind of keep track of those appointments, be in charge of kind of what your daily schedule looks like and kind of how to manage your time. You can also, as we just kind of talked about, you can use the Echo device to control different aspects of your environment using things like smart plugs or smart lighting. Or even things up to smart thermostats, things of that nature. There's a wonderful world of smart home technology out there, and a lot of it is compatible with the Alexa Smart Assistant. The announcements and alarm features are great for kind of building routines and sticking to a schedule. So you can have announcements that remind you to take out the trash, bring that trash can to the curb, or maybe every Thursday is laundry day, and a friendly reminder to gather up that laundry and put it in the washing machine. And then you can actually schedule in a slight delay. Maybe your washing machine takes about 60 minutes for that wash load. You can schedule in a delay, and at the end of that 60 minutes, another announcement will play that's a reminder to move that laundry over to the dryer. And if you're anything like me, I need some reminders to take things out of the washing machine and move them on over. So that's one I use at my house. And the drop-in feature we've talked about a little bit, but I think another kind of aspect of it to highlight is an intercom, and how that could even be used within one home in an effort to honestly preserve privacy. So you can actually call one device, one Echo device from another. And so maybe you call from the kitchen up to your loved one's bedroom and just kind of check in, make sure everything, do they need anything? Do they want dinner? It's ready. Come on down, but you don't have to go to their room, knock on the door, interrupt, anything like that. Again, preserving privacy with some of these features. The intercom comes through as a phone call. So there's really no surprise that you're kind of now in the middle of a two-way call. You have to answer that call. You participate in that incoming phone call, or you can opt to decline it as well. And when we talk about sending messages, it's a little bit like announcements in the app, the Alexa app, where you can set up some of these. You can actually type in what you want these announcements to say, or you can send messages to contacts through the communication features on the Echo Show as well. And these automated routines, I really think this is kind of one of the best features Amazon has built in for the Echo Show. So they've called them Alexa routines. And really what this entails is you can customize a sequence of events. And these could be actions that the Echo Show does, maybe an alarm, and then 15 minutes worth of music, and then maybe a reminder to bring your keys that day. Don't leave home without your lunch or something like that. Creating lots of different kind of step-by-step routines. And when you factor in those delays in between, you can ultimately kind of space out how you're hearing those reminders. it can be overwhelming to hear a lot at one time. You can actually spread that out a little bit and really kind of customize how you want to be reminded about things. And maybe you want to be reminded with a little bit of music or a funny joke or something like that. You have a lot of different creativity. You can kind of put your own spin on things using these Alexa routines. And then, of course, you can also utilize the Echo to stay current on what's going on in the world, be it what weather is happening, whether you should wear a coat that day or bring an umbrella. You can even use it to kind of keep an eye on your commute to work or your day out in the community. You can actually see if there's a lot of traffic on the way, if that applies to you. So as you kind of probably started to guess, what can't Alexa do, right? She can do just about anything. So again, you would utilize the Alexa app on a smartphone or a tablet to help manage some of these settings or some of these routines or features attached to the Echo Show. And that's where you actually can go in and edit things in real time and toggle them on or off if you'd like. You would also, through the Alexa app, connect your phone's contact list if you so choose, and that would actually allow you to make outgoing calls from your Echo device. You could actually call a loved one or a friend as long as your contact list on your phone is connected to your Alexa app. You would actually be able to make those type of outgoing phone calls. And then we've already talked a little bit about some scheduling, appointment reminders, kind of keeping track of maybe doctor's appointments or kind of daily routines. And we've also mentioned that the Echo Show is great at kind of hands-free environmental controls as well. Now those of course would involve those kind of separate components to be able to access that, but it's a lot of things are native to Amazon's functionality. And we'll talk a little bit more about the the Echo's ability to integrate with the Ring Video Doorbell here. And I'll highlight that as we move forward. All right, so I want to dive in a little bit more to Alexa skills. So we already talked about how these are really similar to apps that you might download on your phone or tablet. They can either perform tasks or they could actually allow you access to those third-party devices we just talked about. So there is a Ring skill that if you have a Ring Video Doorbell at your front door and you have an Echo Show, through the Alexa app and your Ring app, you would allow the two to communicate with one another. And that would actually allow your Echo Show to act as a screen for your Ring Video Doorbell's video feed. So you could say, please show my front door, or Alexa, show my front door. And the video from the Ring Video Doorbell would show up there on the Echo Show's screen. You could use that as a hands-free way to see who's at your door without necessarily having to run and go get your phone or a tablet. As far as the amount of skills, again, it's pretty endless. Right now, they're up to 100,000. And I think there's more every day. So there's a lot to explore on the Alexa app as far as how those skills can be supportive. Some that I want to draw your attention to and how they might be helpful to you. So the smart home support, we've talked about the Ring skill and the ability to integrate your Ring Video Doorbell for hands-free use using your Echo Show. The Philips Hue skill allows you a verbal hands-free control over a single smart bulb or a whole room's worth of smart bulbs, or even a whole home's worth of smart lighting. And the ecobee skill, if paired with an ecobee smart thermostat, would even offer you automated thermostat control. And you could even set that up with maybe a routine that every night at 5 p.m. you want the heat to be raised a little bit, so that way it's comfy when you come home. And in the morning, you know that you leave for the day at 8 a.m. Maybe you turn that heat down a little bit automatically through the use of an Alexa routine. So just kind of ways to make your life more comfortable without really having to work super hard at it. The Echo Show is capable of connecting with a Fitbit. And then they also offer lots of different skills that pertain to kind of calming noises, nature sounds, meditation type of skills. things that can be really helpful to kind of manage your own kind of mental health and your mindset. There are lots and lots of different kinds. There's definitely something for everyone out there. As far as some of the native functionality attached to Alexa. We've talked a little bit about the Alexa app. You can actually set it up to where you could ask your Echo Show to help you find your phone. Maybe it got lost in a couch cushion. So it can kind of help with that type of thing. We've talked a little bit about the recipes that it can find. So you could ask just for an idea for dinner. You could also ask her to narrate that recipe to you. She can narrate it step by step. And if she goes too quickly, you can ask her to hang on for a minute while you catch up with that step in dinner or whatever have you. And then she'll resume reading that recipe out loud to you. You could also simultaneously, while you were following that recipe and cooking dinner that night, if you ran out of a particular ingredient, you needed to add it to your shopping list, all of that can be done hands-free simultaneously without ever actually touching the Echo Show. There are also some kind of emergency supports to the Echo Show. There's Alexa Emergency Assist or Alexa Together. These are fairly new offerings from Amazon. They do carry a fee attached to them. I want to be transparent about that, and that's managed directly in the Alexa app, and all of the settings pertaining to that are managed there. But the real kind of synopsis of those is that they do allow for emergency services to be involved should there be an emergency that comes up. Now, a free skill that isn't able to contact emergency services but can contact a predetermined emergency responder that you set up is the Ask My Buddy skill. And a lot of folks opt to use this when they first get their Echo Show. So that way they have somebody, that they could just hands-free ask that the Echo Show call on their behalf. Maybe it's a little scary building up that alone time. It's always nice to be able to reach out to somebody and connect with them without having to worry about how to make that phone call or whatever have you. All right. And I want to kind of spend some time really focusing on kind of what this all means. How does it all come together? How does the Echo Show and those Alexa skills, how do they really kind of impact your life? And how could they be supportive to your safety and your independence? So as far as kind of how these take shape, it's really all about your specific goals, your specific outcomes, and your concerns as well. Each of these kind of examples that we outlined today are just examples. Everything is highly, highly customizable and adaptable in real time. So you can use these kind of to start your imagination, but please don't let your imagination be limited. So for the population that might be aging in place or have a physical limitation or consideration, an Alexa smart assistant could be helpful for environmental controls, using voice control or routines, calling for help using those built-in features, but also even for timers and reminders for cooking safety, and medication compliance. So I think this is an important one we should definitely spend some time on. So medication reminders, those timers, those time-based announcements, you can absolutely set those up to be different on day-to-day basis or consistent day-to-day. And you can have multiple per day. And it could be as simple as an announcement that says it's time to take your meds, or it could be something kind of wild and crazy, like a fun noise or sound effect that plays, and then you hear a medication reminder, something to that effect. Sky's the limit, and you can be as creative as you want to be. Another way, kind of thinking through staying connected with loved ones offsite, the audio and video calling. You can keep track of those grandkids or loved ones without ever actually having to leave or working through making a video call on a tablet or a phone. This is a nice hands-free way to be able to do that. And the Echo Show 10 can also kind of follow you. If you're moving and grooving around your home or apartment, it can actually keep up with you for that video call. So you don't have to slow your life down. You can still have that connection, and the Echo Show 10 will keep up with you. And then, of course, all those kind of fun activities that the Echo Show can do, reading books out loud, playing music, watching movies or TV, ways to stay, active as far as, entertainment goes, but also just kind of fun ways to utilize your Echo for, relaxing and stuff like that. All right, so as far as individuals with autism, IDD, or even the aging in place community, Alexa can be helpful in a lot of different situations. So sometimes folks have opted to use the ability for these routines and their creativity behind them to support transitions from one task to the next. Maybe timers that are visual, and that visual timer on the screen as it counts down. When that timer ends, we're going to move on to this next task. Or we got to leave the house in 5 minutes. You set that 5-minute timer, got that visual component. And it's even really fun when it gets down to the last 10 seconds. It has like a countdown swinging ball. It's very cool. So there's a kind of a nice kind of visual component where we try to mitigate or avoid surprises. And we've talked a lot about prompting independent routines. But also providing rewards for a successful task being completed or routine. So maybe we finished this, it went super well. Let's listen to 15 minutes of our favorite band. Or we get to watch an episode of this TV show. There's a lot of different ways that you could utilize that. But again, creativity being the name of the game. As far as helping to develop communication skills, this is great in that sometimes the pressure of interacting with other people and developing those language skills and how to have a conversation, that can be stressful. That can be tough. Just communicating with Alexa, it takes a lot of that stress off the table, right? So folks can develop conversational skills, and Alexa can be smart enough to adapt to a person's speech patterns as well. So if someone is hoping to kind of navigate what it looks like to ask questions and feel comfortable getting that information back and continuing to ask more, Alexa can be great at kind of lowering the stakes on that type of thing. And as far as decreasing the amount of daily screen time, I know that sounds a little counterintuitive because we're talking about a screen-based device, but I think that it's nice because instead of looking to your phone to set timers, then all of a sudden you've found yourself in this time suck of checking maybe email or texting friends. Now you've just automated it all. You're on the go, you're moving and grooving, and you just know that your Alexa assistant is supporting you without the need to actually stop and perform a task. And then as far as making announcements on one or all Echo devices in a home, we talked a little bit about some of these drop-in features, the intercom features. I think, again, these are great at trying to promote privacy, right? So maybe letting someone know that dinner is ready or that it's time to go, and to come on down without ever actually having to go up to their space, offering them the empowerment of making good decisions and timely decisions as well. And then I wanted to walk everyone through just a couple of examples here. So again, these are just a few ways that an Echo Show could potentially be supportive. And to start us off, I wanted to start with Sarah. So for this example, Sarah is starting a new job. She wants to be sure to wake up on time before eating a healthy breakfast and putting on a weather-appropriate outfit. So through an Alexa routine, Sarah could set a timer for her Echo Show, set a time for her Echo Show to start playing 10 minutes of her favorite music before announcing today's weather. She could also use that routine to maybe tell her about any appointments she has on her calendar for that week. And it could be different day to day. Maybe her work schedule isn't consistent. This kind of helps her stay on top of it without having to be glued to a physical calendar necessarily. Next up, we've got David. So David is moving into an apartment where he will share weekly meal duties with his new roommate. So to kind of help support making sure that he's a wonderful new roommate, David could utilize Alexa to add items to his digital shopping list throughout the week and then access it before his weekly trip to the grocery store. David could also ask Alexa for recipe ideas. And then, as we've noted before, she could read the recipe aloud so that David doesn't have to leave the stove to keep checking a cookbook or a recipe. So that way he stays close to that appliance while it's on. And he could always ask Alexa to pause that recipe narration at any point if he just needs some extra time to get through, kind of going through the next step. Alexa could also keep track of several timers at once. And he could even give them names for what they are timing, so that there's a separate timer for the potatoes and there's a separate timer for the chicken, and it can actually announce kind of which timer has ended, really kind of helping to, again, stay focused on the task at hand and trusting Alexa to be supportive. Next up on our list is Rebecca. So Rebecca is going to start spending more time at home alone. And in an effort to help her feel safe during this new alone time, a Ring video doorbell has been installed at her front door. And by implementing the Ring skill through her Alexa app, she can now use the Echo Show with her Ring video doorbell. She can simply ask Alexa, show me the front door. Then a live video of that front door or whatever the Ring video doorbell sees will come onto the Echo Show screen, and she can opt to unmute the Echo Show's microphone and speak with that visitor without ever having to pick up her phone or a tablet or frankly even move. She can do it all right there. And again, she has that option of speaking to the visitor, and she has the option of maybe asking them to hang on a minute or leave if now is not a good time to have a guest. And the ultimate goal there being to help promote that safe decision-making without the pressure of being face-to-face with a visitor. It's a lot easier to make safe decisions when you're in the safety of your own space. So kind of building those moments up and providing support for that. And then she could also, if she didn't feel safe kind of connecting with that visitor to the home, she could still use that Echo Show to then call someone off site, maybe a loved one or a friend, to help either offer her some support with her decision making, or maybe just some kind of, kind of guidance or just kind of some peace of mind as far as kind of what's happening. Last on our list, but far from least, we've got Jacob. So Jacob sometimes struggles with becoming overwhelmed during certain situations. He can overstimulation, that type of thing. So through his Alexa routine, Jacob could set his own calming routine. He could opt for his integrated Philips Hue smart lights in his bedroom, perhaps, to all turn to a very calming blue color, kind of ocean-like, perhaps. And the Alexa routine can then play 20 minutes of relaxing sounds, calming nature sounds, or just kind of meditative music. And when that 20 minutes is up, he can then set the routine to announce some type of good news. That's a built-in feature. Or tell a funny animal joke, something kind of just positive and light. If he still isn't feeling 100% at the end of that routine, he could opt to use that Echo Show to call someone for extra support. Alternatively, caregivers might want to check in on him. Maybe he's been up in his room for a little while, that calming music's going, the lights look great, but they don't necessarily want to interrupt. They can give him a call, see how things are going without ever infringing upon his privacy. So those are just a couple of examples of how the Echo Show could be used to support independence and safe decision-making while still promoting privacy. And yeah, so that's a little bit of what I have for you today. And I want to make sure that I leave room for plenty of questions, should there be any.
All right, thank you, Emily. Feel free to chime in if you do have any questions. But we do have some questions that we got in from the community. So the first one we want to start with is, how can Amazon Echo assist with medication reminders and management?
Yeah, absolutely. So Again, I think taking advantage of those time-based announcements and utilizing the flexibility for routines to be different on a day-to-day basis. So maybe Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays look a little bit different than the rest of the week. You can have separate routines set up with separate kind of time-based reminders for each. You could even customize the announcement to tell you exactly what medication to take, or maybe to check your insulin level or something to that effect. And you could, again, kind of make these type of things sequential. So maybe you have a medication that you should or shouldn't eat right before. Maybe your first announcement or reminder is about whether or not you should eat. And then you program in a small delay and then a reminder to take that medication.
All right, thank you. And how does the Amazon Echo Show support communication and social connection for people who might be isolated?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think video calling is so important, right? So that visual connection, the ability to check in on someone you care about, see how they're doing, and really kind of connect. So I think that the Echo can be great for that one-to-one type of calling, but it also does support Zoom as well. So maybe you, for your check-ins with your circle of supports, maybe your caseworker or something like that, if you have even business meetings perhaps that happen over Zoom or Skype, you can even utilize your Echo Show to stay connected in those type of forums as well. And then we've talked a little bit about the digital photo frame and utilizing that. So there are a lot of different ways that an Echo Show can kind of help you feel connected to another person, but even your community, news announcements, kind of giving you the headlines, telling you more about the weather, and kind of checking in on kind of what's happening out in the world, so that you stay tethered and stay connected to the outside community as well.
Great points. And what can a person do with the Echo Show if they are unable to read? Would it be better for them to get an Echo Dot, or could the show still be helpful?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So, ultimately, I think that the Echo Show kind of implies that everything happens on that screen. And I think something really important to highlight about the Echo Show's camera is that it actually has some really interesting built-in functionality, especially for folks that maybe have low vision. You can actually utilize what is called, I want to make sure I get it right, it's called the Show and Tell feature, and it's built in. You don't need anything special for this. Using that camera on the Echo Show, you can actually hold something up and ask Alexa to tell you, you can say, Alexa, what am I holding? And she can do her best to kind of tell you what you're looking at or what you're holding. And then also, the Echo Show is capable of reading aloud most of what's on its screen as well. And this could apply not only to what's on the screen, but also to things like audiobooks, or kind of things that maybe weren't as accessible before are. So don't let the screen and everything about kind of there being a visual component feel like a limitation. I see it kind of as a benefit, honestly.
So to add on to that, are there any options for individuals whose speech might be a little bit unclear?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and one that we get a lot. So we've talked a little bit about how Alexa can learn speech patterns. You can actually set up profiles, and she'll learn the different members of a household if there are multiple members to a household, and she can gear her responses to that particular person. And as part of that, again, learning those speech patterns, learning kind of how someone might address her. And another thing to consider is also that a lot of folks utilize maybe voice to text options or devices like a Dynavox or Voice It. There are a lot of different things out there. Those will work with Alexa. So they could even automate some type of announcement. Maybe they have a button somewhere that when they press it, it plays, just a local announcement there. They could even utilize that to trigger some of these verbal prompts that they've preset a routine attached to it. So, you know, a verbal request isn't the end of the road for Alexa's functionality. And the Echo Show, again, kind of one of its benefits is that it has that touch screen. So you can interact with most of Alexa's functionality on the Echo Show screen itself. So voice control is just one small feature of how the Echo Show can be controlled.
Nice, good to know. And a question that we got a couple of times, do I have to have a smartphone or a tablet to use the Echo Show?
Yeah, so ultimately, no. You can buy an Echo Show or get one through this wonderful program here and plug it in, connect it to your Wi-Fi, and you are ready to rock and roll. You do not necessarily need a smartphone or tablet with the Alexa app downloaded on it. What I will note is that that is vital for those additional integrations. So including your Ring video doorbell or some smart lighting, things of that nature. That's where your Alexa app on a smartphone or tablet is going to be mandatory. But really up until that point, as long as you have an active Wi-Fi connection, you can utilize the Echo Show.
And can the Echo be used as a learning or educational tool? And if so, how?
Yeah, absolutely. So I really think that, you know, kind of the ability to, we've talked a little bit about conversations and kind of developing, you know, kind of without the pressure of there being a person on the other end of that conversation. But also there are a lot of built-in skills that could be used to learn about things. I think that there's actually, gosh, I think there are a lot of different kind of educational skills that are built in, but also a lot of task management skills that are available as well. So kind of building out kind of what shape you want that to take, and kind of learning along the way for sure. I think that the Echo Show, you can also limit some of the features if it feels overwhelming to start. So even just education as far as the Echo Show itself could be managed, you know, to turn off some of the features that don't feel like the right fit to start with.
Great. And the last question that we got was, can the Amazon Echo integrate with other smart home devices to create a more accessible and convenient living environment?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the Ring video doorbell is probably the best one. Amazon owns Ring and therefore created a really wonderful integration for the Echo Show, right? So the hands-free ability to see who's at your door and make safe decisions about, you know, kind of what type of visitors you let in and how you address them. But also when it comes to comfort and convenience, I mean, Amazon has created integrations with Philips Hue, Samsung SmartThings. We talked about Ecobee as well, but also a lot of other type of devices. And you can actually integrate a lot of these kind of all into one routine. So you could have an evening routine that maybe when you come home, you turn on all the living room lights and start your fan and also play 20 minutes of calming music at the same time that you're adjusting the temperature to the comfortable rate that you'd like. You just automate all that, make life easy, and then, you know, could ultimately have it set maybe the opposite on the other side of things. That way you don't have to remember to readjust those things or turn off those things, helping you save electricity, helping keep your home safe and secure. There are a lot of different kind of ways you could use the kind of comforts, the convenience of the Echo Show for safety, but also just for kind of managing how you control your environment.
Thank you for that, Emily. Those are all the questions that we received. I'm going to pass over to Jessica, who's going to give some closing comments.
Thanks, Tatiana. Thanks, Emily. It was great learning about the standalone devices and how they can help members of the JSTD community and the greater community. I wanted to thank everyone for joining today. This is our third in our series of free webinars that we are hosting in connection with our grant that we received with the strong support of Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill. All of the webinars are going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel within the next few weeks. If you'd like to watch back or share with somebody, we would love that. If you would like to apply for a free Echo Show or the MedReady device or any of our other technology devices, please look out for an email from LifeHomeTech@jsdd.org. It might go to your spam, so check your spam. The email will have a link that will walk you through our application form, a timeline of the approval process, as well as our guidelines. The email will also include slides from today's presentation. We hope that you'll share what you learned with your friends and family and attend our next webinar Thursday, April 4th, 7 p.m., Building Independence Through Task Prompting and Social Supports. We hope to see you then. Good night.